Cue the sadness and sorrow soundtrack. Or maybe, just maybe, not. This story does have its downsides, but it's a story about discovery. The discovery of friendship, the discovery of love, to know you aren't alone. When I began making this series, I felt like writing a school daze type story that emphasized the loneliness Naruto, and by extension, likely a few of our viewers might feel. But this isn't a story of pain. Instead, it's a story of hope. A belief that good still exists in the world, and a story to have faith, to never stop believing in the human capacities. While we are truly capable of great evils, we're also truly capable of wonderful good. But as it stands, who we are and what we boil down to isn't something bred within us, but a choice. Each of us have been given the gift of autonomy and free will. What we do with it is our choice. And that's what today's story is all about. Today I will tell a story of sadness and sorrow and the person who decided to end it. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Dear Diary, today I woke up and had a wonderful dream. I dreamed I was soaring above the clouds like a bird. I dreamed that the sun touched my skin and that a smiling face guided me to roost. When I got to roost, that same face appeared and offered me a hand, and when I took it, the world was full of such wonderful colors. Sakura-chan told me that our dreams can say a lot about who we are and what we want out of life, and I think I'm starting to figure that out. Naruto put down his pencil and stared out the window as he leaned back in a chair. Normally, he saved his journal entries for the end of the day, and he still might tack something on later, but he was so excited that he had to record it. Naruto had a dream last night. For the first time in who knows how long, Naruto had a dream. That dream was obvious to Naruto. For most, figuring out what a dream meant was a heavy task, but not this one. Naruto knew from the very start what it meant and how it reflected upon him. He quickly got up and rushed off to get cleaned up. A quick shower and a brush of his teeth was what he normally did at this time of day. After a quick 30 seconds of mouthwash, he spit it out and rinsed. He looked into the mirror with a smile, showing off his slightly dingy but as of yet still pearly whites. And for the first time in a long time, he picked up the comb and began to try different hairstyles. He parted it down the middle. When he didn't like that, he tried pushing it all to one side. Nope. He tried combing it back. Closer, but it just didn't seem to fit his style. Naruto smiled. He added a little gel to his hair and began to comb it up into well-maintained spikes. There. That was similar to his standard hairstyle of everywhere all the time, but it somehow seemed more stylish and well-kept. He walked back to his room. He picked up his jacket to put on, but the smell got to him and he realized that he'd been wearing the same jacket for 2 weeks. Tossing it to the side, he opened his closet and pulled out a new one. And yes, it smelled a bit like potpourri, and as nice as that was, he knew it wasn't him. So he grabbed some Axe body spray, they're not sponsoring us by the way, but it's just cliche for a young man who wants to feel attractive, and loaded himself up on it. Looking into the mirror, he smiled once more, a toothy grin, and felt that this was the best he could ever look. Grabbing something to eat, he kept his eye on the clock. He was waiting for that blessed hour, 11 a.m. It felt like it might never come. Eventually, as it was 10 minutes to, he felt that he couldn't handle it anymore and raced outside, nearly forgetting to lock the door. Going downstairs, he stood and waited until he saw Sakura slowly making her way toward him. As soon as she got close, her nose scrunched up at the offensiveness of the body spray. What, did he bathe in it? She questioned in her head. She took one look at him and understood that he was trying to be dapper, attempting to impress her, and even if it was a bit much, she wouldn't shoot him down. Well, don't you look nice today, she said. Ready to go? Naruto nodded. He began to walk off with her. What are we doing today? He asked her. Anything you want. We can visit the arcade, maybe get something to eat, we could see a movie, she said. Naruto's eyes lit up. A movie? She smiled. Well, it seems that caught your attention. Is there one you've been hoping to see? Naruto didn't even have to think about it. Kagemasa 4, Shadows Never Fade. Sakura laughed. Then I guess that's what we're doing. They took some time to go to the movies, and they learned that the next showing would be at noon. So the two burned a little time at the arcade where Naruto laughed like he'd never laughed before. Honestly, Naruto had forgotten what his own laugh sounded like, or what it felt like. Going to the cinema, the two would find the perfect seats right in the middle. Not too far from the screen, but not so close that they couldn't see the whole thing. The whole movie, he kept gazing over at Sakura. She was here for Naruto. It wasn't like she'd even seen Kagemasa 3 or the two before that, but it's what Naruto wanted to do, and this is what a good friend did. Naruto wanted to make a move, but he wasn't sure how not to be cringe. He considered just grabbing her hand and holding it, but he was afraid that if he made a move too soon, he might drive off his only friend. She was his only warmth in a cold world, and it terrified him that she might go away due to some action he would take. Sakura looked over out of the corner of her eye to see that Naruto's eyes were no longer on the screen, but instead on her hand, his shaking hand hovering nearby. Suddenly, her hand gripped his. He seemed stunned by this, but smiled. Her heart truly was of gold. After the movie, she took him out to get something to eat, and the two talked. "So tell me, did you have any dreams last night, Naruto?" Naruto nodded. "I dreamed I was a bird, flying high in the blue sky, the warmth of the sun on my shoulders." He omitted the rest of her dream for fear that it might scare her off. Sakura nodded. "Birds are sometimes synonymous with the concept of freedom. They symbolize the ability to go anywhere at any time. And the warmth of the sun is likely synonymous with happiness or something you desire being fulfilled. To have your day in the sun. It sounds to me like you simply desire the same happiness and freedom that others have, and I'll be sure to help you achieve it." Naruto smiled and giggled a bit before looking down. He then stared up through his eyebrows as if nervous and shy. "What was your dream about?" Sakura thought about it for a moment. "I dreamed I was riding a giraffe again, but this time I was a giraffe too, so it went from fun to fever dream real quick." The two laughed at the dream and continued their meal until they finally finished. They ended their day by playing at the park a little. After spending that time together, they decided that it was time to go home, and so this time Naruto walked Sakura home. She stepped to the door and waved, and Naruto of course would wave back. As she disappeared behind the door, Naruto would turn and begin to walk away. Monday eventually came, and it was time to go back to school. Despite this, Naruto did not feel the same dread he always felt. The two of them would meet and walk to school together. Getting there, Naruto would take his seat, and some of the other kids were picking on him a little, but nothing could wipe away that stupid, happy smile from his mug. He looked out the window and began to daydream again, but this time it was about her. To be frank, Sakura harbored no romantic feelings toward Naruto. He was just so love-starved that he was developing feelings for the first person in who knows how long to show him any sort of attraction. And though it might not be a good idea in the long run, she couldn't help but let him continue to have it. Maybe he would grow out of it. Or perhaps simply she would develop feelings too. The future was so unsure that there was no use in her worrying about it. So she sat there and continued listening to class. As it came to an end and recess was called, Naruto stood by the lockers and sort of waited for the next bell. He looked over at Sakura, who smiled and waved back. As they stood there, they saw Butch on his way, making daily collections. He stopped in front of a boy with black hair. "Ah, the new kid. Well, it's a good idea to show you how things work. There's a little thing called the geek tax. It's a tax you gotta pay for being a geek. Refuse to pay and I revoke your right to breathe. $5. Butch held out his hand. The black-haired boy scoffed at him and turned back to his locker. Butch placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Maybe you didn't hear me. I said if you The boy put a fist into Butch's stomach, and as he doubled over in pain, he left him laying there, grabbing at his bloody, broken nose. Naruto was surprised. He'd never seen anyone give Butch his just desserts before, let alone someone smaller than him. "Whoa, who was that?" Naruto asked. Sakura looked over. "That's Sasuke Uchiha. He's new. He just transferred." "Do you know anything more about him?" Naruto asked. Sakura shook her head. "Only that he's prickly and doesn't get along well with others." Naruto nodded. The bell rang and Naruto and Sakura made their way to their next class. While there, Naruto couldn't help but let his gaze drift towards Sasuke once again. He was wondering about him quite a bit. He looked over at Sakura for a moment to find her looking at Sasuke the same way. Naruto saw the same look in Sasuke's eyes that Naruto once had. Class whizzed by, it seemed, in the twinkling of an eye. As Naruto stood ready for lunch, he recognized that he still had his lunch money, which meant that he could actually eat today. As Naruto and Sakura met up with each other, they both knew what the other was thinking. So for lunch, they got something to eat and looked for Sasuke. He was sitting alone at a table, and so they both sat down in front of him. He stopped chewing midway through a bite of sandwich and just looked at them both with the most uninviting stare imaginable. Naruto was almost scared off by this, but Sakura put her hand on his leg to tell him that it was okay without breaking her eyes from the dark-haired boy, a smile prevalent on her face. "Hi," she said. He didn't respond. "What are you having for lunch?" Sakura asked. Once more, he did not answer. He merely stared more daggers into her. She looked to Naruto, who was slowly growing annoyed. "I saw that you were alone and thought that maybe you could use a friend," she said. He suddenly stood up, grabbed his lunchbox, and began making his way to another unoccupied table. "That bastard!" Naruto exclaimed as he stood, nearly ready to go after him, but Sakura held out her hand and grabbed him to stop. "Leave him," she said. She looked back at Sasuke, attempting to discover what this was and the cause of it. As recess set in further, the two watched Sasuke closely and found that other kids tended to gravitate toward him, and many attempted to be his friend. Many girls tried to woo him, but he shot those advances down. Sakura recalled that Naruto had been similar to Sasuke at the start, but for Naruto it was suspicion that no one would actually be nice to him, yet he slowly warmed to the idea. Sasuke, however, had plenty of prospective friends, yet he denied them all, refusing to talk to half of them and speaking words of reproach towards them if they were unusually determined. Sakura seemed confused by this. "I just think the guy's an ass," Naruto said as he watched from the distance with her. Sakura merely raised her finger to shush Naruto. No, there was something more to this, and Sakura was dead set on finding out what it was. After school, the two of them would follow Sasuke at a distance. He seemed suspicious, as if he suspected someone might be watching him, but all the same, whatever feelings of being watched he felt, they weren't strong enough to deter him. He continued to walk, and Naruto and Sakura followed him. Slowly, he turned into an old and forgotten part of town, an old compound. Naruto looked around. The Uchiha compound. Why would he go to such a desolate dump like this? Sakura was starting to get the idea, but she kept it to herself for now. They followed him to his house and watched him go inside. Once he disappeared, Sakura turned toward Naruto. "Do you think he actually lives here?" Naruto asked. Sakura nodded. After Sasuke left, she noticed that a light turned on in one of the upstairs bedrooms. She snuck in. Naruto whispered after her, "Sakura, come back!" Naruto followed her in. Sakura looked around. It was dark. Well kept, but dark. Naruto shivered when he got in. Despite being out of the cold and into relative warmth, he shivered. This was due to the creepy atmosphere. "Something really bad happened here," Naruto said as he rubbed his arms to drive off the chill. Of course, Sakura didn't need to hear that from Naruto. Sakura knew exactly what happened here. As she moved her way through, she found a busted picture frame. In that frame was a picture of 4 people, with one of the members torn out. "Sasuke must not want to remember someone," Naruto said. As Sakura looked the picture over a bit, she noticed who actually was in the picture. "Naruto, do you know who this is?" she asked. Naruto shrugged. "Well, I know that kid there's Sasuke. He hasn't changed much, but I wouldn't know any of the others from Adam." Sakura pointed to a man. "That's Fugaku Uchiha." Naruto didn't seem to understand. "The clan head," Sakura tacked on to help him understand. "Why would Sasuke have a picture taken with the clan head of the Uchiha?" Sakura smiled a little and shook her head. "I think it's his dad." Naruto thought about it. "Wait, if Fugaku's Sasuke's dad, then the person torn out must be Sasuke's brother, Itachi," Sakura said, finishing Naruto's sentence. Naruto looked to Sakura. "But didn't they say that Itachi was the murderer of the Uchiha?" Sakura nodded. "If Sasuke really is Fugaku's son, then that means Sasuke watched his own brother kill his clan." "What are you doing here?" a third voice appeared from behind. Sakura and Naruto turned around to see Sasuke standing there. Naruto almost freaked out and seemed like he wanted to hide behind Sakura. Sakura attempted to hide the picture behind her. Sasuke took a step forward and extended his hand, open palm facing up. Sakura knew what this meant. She put the picture in his hand. Sasuke looked at it for a second before his eyes slowly looked back up. "Get out. Get out." Sakura tried to protest. "Sasuke, we're sorry for spying. I said get out." The burning in his dark gray eyes almost seemed to spark to red for a moment before once again returning to gray. Naruto and Sakura stepped out of the home as Sakura closed the door behind them. Sakura took a few steps out, looking at the ground before Naruto looked back at the door. "That was close." Sakura shook her head and kept walking. "Hey, wait up!" Naruto followed her. "What's wrong?" he asked. "I figured out why he is the way he is, and now I've made it impossible for either of us to ever solve that issue." Naruto seemed to look away from her during the outburst. She pushed a strand of hair off her face. "Sasuke is mistrusting. Someone he loved and trusted with his heart betrayed him. He's hurt like you were, Naruto. But the difference is there's no amount of affection that can help him because he doesn't trust affection enough to let it inside. He's closed off in an entirely new way. The only way to care for him is to get him to open up to us and trust us. And now, well, we've shut that door forever." Naruto shook his head. "Well, maybe we can get to him anyway. Perhaps if we explain?" "I don't think it'll work, Naruto." Naruto shook his head. "Oh well." Naruto nodded. "Oh well." Sakura looked back down the road they'd traveled. "That boy's in trouble and all you can say is, oh well?" Naruto shrugged. "Well, what do you want me to say? There's nothing we can do about it." "I refuse to believe that," she said. "If there's a way, then tell me. Get him to trust us. You already said that was impossible, and without trust, you can't help him." "That doesn't mean we should give up," she said. Naruto shook his head and walked to the side. "My question is, why do you care so much?" Sakura watched this with a slightly appalled look on her face. "My question is, why don't you care this much?" Naruto stood there for a moment. Sakura continued. "You were where he is now. You needed a friend, and I came out to be that friend because I believe nobody should ever have to go through that sort of thing. And now you have a chance to help me out, to pay it forward. And your response is, why should I care? That's despicable." She began to turn and walk off. Wait, where are you going? She didn't even look back. Home. I'm going to try to think of a way to make him feel better. She left Naruto standing there. Naruto was stunned. He started to go home. Reaching his home, he opened the door, closed it, and locked it. He put his keys on the table and walked into his room, where he looked out the window and thought on the whole situation. He grit his teeth. He looked down at the vase of flowers that she'd given him. He picked it up and launched it at the wall, smashing the vase. She thinks I'm a charity case. That's why she chose to be my friend. Not because she wanted to, but because she felt bad. And now that I'm a bandaged puppy healing in the corner, she's gonna move on and play doctor with some new guy. None of it was real, was it? None of it. Not a damn thing of it. As he sat there, he saw the desk where his journal was. He stood and walked over to it, opening it up, pulling it out. He read through the entries once again. In anger, he ripped them out and shredded them. Then he took his pen and wrote in it, I was always right. Nothing changed. He then began to write nothing has changed over and over again on every subsequent page until he reached the end of the book. He then threw the book down and stomped on it. He resented the day Hiruzen had ever given him that damn journal. Count your blessings with it, the old fool had told him. What blessings? This wasn't a blessing, this was a curse. And the past few days were the most elaborate joke ever played. Lies. It was all a lie, a friggin' lie, he said as he punched a hole through the wall. Pulling his fist from the drywall, he proceeded to make a second hole, and then a third, over and over, left and right as he punched through the wall. He was going to be sure that the wall was full of as many holes as his heart. Sakura returned home and began trying to think up ways to help Sasuke. As she sat there, she looked over at her desk to see a picture in a frame. A picture she and Naruto had taken together. She thought back on the moment that she left him there, the look on his face. She thought that perhaps she was a bit harsh on him. She was just frustrated. She didn't mean any of those things. She didn't think he was despicable. She was wrong to think like that. At the moment, she wondered why Naruto wouldn't want to help someone in Sasuke's position, but maybe it wasn't that he didn't want to, but that he didn't know how to. Naruto had been in a similar situation, but his stemmed from a totally different place. Naruto had been starved of affection, and Sasuke had been destroyed by it. Naruto, probably, like so many others, wanted to pass his affection on, but Sasuke would close the door in his face. Sakura was determined to find a way, but even she had to admit that it was a tall order. It was just so much. She felt a bit bad about it and decided that she needed to apologize to Naruto. She picked up the phone and attempted to call. It rang and then went to the answering machine. She knew he had to be home by this point of the night. She asked him to pick up if he were there. There was no response. So she tried calling again. Once again, no answer. Suddenly, she felt terror in her heart, and she finally understood the look Iruka had when Naruto hadn't shown up for school that day. She stood and grabbed the coat. She began making it to the door when her mother stopped her. Where do you think you're going? She asked. Out to see a friend. Not at this hour, and on a school night no less. Sakura stopped and looked up. Mom, I need to go. Her mother saw the look in her face. Sakura, what's wrong? Mom, I think a friend of mine's in danger. I need to go. Sakura stepped out into the darkness. Despite everything, her mother didn't stop her. She knew the kind of person Sakura was and didn't want to get in the way of her actions. Sakura walked all the way to Naruto's apartment building and made it to his door. She knocked a few times, but there was no answer. She knocked a bit louder and a bit harder, calling out in a voice a few decibels higher. It eventually reached a point where she could hear the neighbors cursing her out from behind their doors. Sakura would then pull a key from her pocket. This had been the key that Naruto had lost when he fell down the stairs those days ago. She meant to return it to him, but she continued to forget. Now she was just glad she had it. She began to open the door. She walked inside, closing the door behind her. Naruto, she called. She got no response. She began checking around the apartment. She made her way into his bedroom and saw the smashed vase, the ruined journals, the clothes strewn about like an explosion, and the multiple holes in the wall just the size of Naruto's fist. Worse, there was blood. Please, God, no, she called out. Naruto! Naruto! She looked around and made her way into the bathroom, flipping on the light where she saw him laying in the tub. Naruto? She asked in terror. He looked up at her. There was slight relief in her heart, but not as much as she would have liked. She sat there on the side and looked in. She noticed his hands. They were covered in blood, the flesh of the knuckles brutally torn away. She thought she spied white cracked bone there as well. Naruto, she said in shock, what have you done? She reached down to take his hands to examine them, only to have him pull them away and push her off the tub with a light kick. Get away from me, I don't need nursing, I don't need sympathy. She rose to her knees and looked in. What do you mean? Naruto's teeth showed like a rabid dog ready to pounce. You said it yourself. I'm like Sasuke. I'm not some puppy to be bandaged and thrown away. Who said I was throwing you away? Sakura asked. Naruto looked at her. Isn't it obvious? You fixed me. Now it's time for Dr. Sakura to move on to our next charity case. Sakura was appalled. Why would you say such a thing? Tell me I'm wrong, Naruto said. Tell me that you didn't become my friend simply because you felt bad for me. Sakura honestly couldn't say that. She had become his friend out of pity, but it wasn't like she hadn't grown to value him. Naruto scoffed and sneered. You can't, can you? You really did become my friend simply because you felt bad. Well, I'd rather have no friends than a fake one, so just get out. Sakura shook her head. No. Naruto began to stand up. No? You tell me no in my house? I told you to leave. If you don't get out, I'll throw you out. She shook her head. No, Naruto, I'm not gonna leave you. He grit his teeth. I told you that I don't need you to feel bad for me. It's insulting. So help me, if you don't get out, I'll beat your ass to Kingdom Come. Sakura stood. Naruto, when I first met you, you were in such a slump. You were so down that Iruka-sensei was afraid that you'd kill yourself. I was afraid too. I needed to see that you were okay. So you admit it, Naruto said. You admit that you only showed up because you felt bad for me. Sakura nodded. It's true. I did. And then I stayed. Not because I felt bad for you, but because I genuinely developed a bond with you. I swear, Naruto, you became my best friend. And if you ever needed me, well, I would still have been your friend. I swear that on my life. Naruto stood there as tears began to drip from his eyes. Why is it so important that you do this? You feel bad for us and think we need pity? Me and Sasuke? You want to fix us? Sakura watched as Naruto slowly fell to his knees. She herself began to cry. I don't mean anything bad by it. I don't wish to take away from your pride, but it's hard for me. It's hard for me to watch people suffer when I have so much. My actions were selfish, but they were also selfless. And if I had to do it again, I would, because you deserve to be loved, even if you don't think so. Even if nobody else will say so. I don't want to see any of my peers, you, Sasuke, Rock Lee, I don't want to see any of you suffer and go without. I can't fix anyone. I want to, but I can't. I just wanted to break the ice. With you, with Sasuke. I just want you both to open up to me so we actually can develop a bond. Naruto listened. She was empathetic to a terrible degree. She was so kind that the thought of anyone else being in pain brought her pain. She loved both Naruto and Sasuke before they even became friends, enough to feel tormented by their suffering to the point where she made it her mission to save them from loneliness. And now he no longer wondered why it mattered to her so much. It mattered because she was Sakura. It mattered because they mattered. As he sat there, she sniffed a bit as she looked at his hands. He'd really mangled them. Fingers were broken, skin was shredded, and his knuckles were cracked and exposed from under the skin. She took a towel and pressed it to them. She then stood and grabbed the first aid kit. She was no doctor, but she said that Naruto needed to see one as soon as he could to ensure that nothing went wrong, but she did attempt to help them. To his torment, she cleaned the wounds with alcohol before applying a styptic and wrapping them up, attempting to reset the bones in his fingers and hands so they could heal. Once that was done, she helped him up and to his room. She helped him remove his jacket and shoes and get into bed. As he laid there, she sat on the side of the bed, her eyes full of concern, yet a gentle smile on her lips. She pushed his hair to the side. Naruto, we're friends. I don't want you to ever doubt that, okay? He nodded slowly. Do you need anything before I go? He shook his head. She stood up to make sure he was warm. Your hands are gonna hurt like hell tomorrow. I'll get some pain medicine ready for you for when you wake up. As she went to leave, he called out for her. Sakura? She looked back. Yes? He sat there silently for a moment. Thank you for being my friend. She smiled. She turned and went to the kitchen where she got out a set of tiny orange pills. Medicine for various body aches, something you required to have on standby as a shinobi. As she prepared to leave, she decided that she would keep the spare key for herself just in case. After all, Naruto lived alone, and if he needed anyone, they would need a way to get in on their own. So she took the key up and took it home with her. The next day, Sakura sat there at her desk. She was not worried, though she didn't expect to see Naruto that day due to his hands. She was surprised when he was there for roll call, as was Iruka, who Sakura had told of the incident the night prior. Naruto? Are you gonna be okay with your hands like that? Naruto nodded. I'll be fine, but I think I'll need help with my schoolwork. Iruka rubbed the back of his head. I'll tell you what, why don't you and Miss Haruno work together then? I'll just grade you both based on a single paper. That doesn't sound very legal, Shikamaru said. Iruka ignored it. Then he began to start class. Once class was over, they made their way back to the halls to get the rest of their gear. Once again, Butch, his nose wrapped up tightly, began to make his rounds, collecting the geek tax, skipping Sasuke. Can't take the geek tax out on a Chad, he would say to Sasuke as he walked past. He eventually made it to Naruto. Geek tax, nerd. Fork over the cash. Naruto then realized he didn't bring any money with him today, nor did he remember to pack a lunch. He looked up. I forgot to bring it today, Butch. Maybe I can just pay you twice tomorrow? Butch shook his head. Nope, because tomorrow will become next week, and next week will become next month, and next month will become never. Gotta set precedents. I'm pretty sure I explained this to you already, shortstop. If you don't have the money, then I'm taking collateral. He reached out for Naruto's backpack. Naruto pulled it away. Oh, so you want me to take the collateral out on your face then? That's fine, I'll do that too. He punched Naruto in the face, causing him to fall back against his locker. Butch began to search through Naruto's belongings. What, you don't have anything worth $5? He dropped Naruto's stuff. Naruto was only now starting to get to his feet. Butch came in again to punch him. Naruto managed to lessen the blow by raising his shoulder to catch it. Butch tried again, but this time Naruto raised his hands instinctively to defend himself, and Butch struck his left hand. Naruto let out a muffled cry as the white bandages began to turn red. Sakura gripped Butch's hand before he could punch Naruto again. Butch, in return, pushed Sakura back into the lockers. Get off me, bitch! At that moment, Sasuke suddenly came in and struck Butch, knocking him to the ground like a linebacker. Sasuke's eyes were glowing red, his Sharingan active. Butch began attempting to crawl away. That guy's crazy, he shouted in a shaky voice as he pulled away. Naruto held the hand. Let it go, Sasuke, please! Sasuke looked up at Naruto's hand and saw the blood. Sasuke took a breath. He let go of the pencil. Due to the altercation, Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke were all given detention. Butch, on the other hand, received a 1-week suspension for instigating and attacking a student. As they sat there in silence, Naruto and Sakura sandwiched Sasuke. They looked over at him. So, why did you try to stab Butch? Sakura asked. Sasuke didn't even look at her. I hate bullies. That's pretty extreme though. Why? Don't question him, Sakura, Naruto said. He saved me from getting my ass beaten. That's enough for me. Sakura took a deep breath and let it out as a sigh. You're right. She turned to Sasuke. Thank you. Sasuke sat there silently for a moment before looking at Naruto, who was currently examining the bloodstains on his bandaged hand. How did you hurt your hands? Rage, Naruto said. I got upset. I punched through a few walls and broke them. Sasuke scoffed. What, did your mom and dad tell you no or something? Naruto shook his head. I don't have a mom or dad. Never have. Sasuke looked over at Naruto for a moment before looking back at the wall. I'm sorry to hear that. I don't have any either. Naruto nodded. I was upset because I was afraid that a friend wasn't being a friend for legitimate reasons and that I'd be left alone again. I was afraid I was going to be betrayed. Sasuke then looked over. Were you? Naruto shook his head. No, my friend came to my house and found me. This work's actually hers. She bandaged my hands. She? Sasuke asked. Naruto pointed over to the other side of Sasuke. Sasuke looked over at Sakura. He looked back at the chalkboard. So why were you two following me? Sakura then took a turn to speak. We wanted to check and see if you were okay. You're always by yourself, and even when someone attempts to be your friend, you turn him away. I didn't think that was any way to live, so I wanted to follow you to see if we could discover why you don't want anyone to be your friend. I now see that I crossed the line with that, and I intruded into your personal business. That's on me. Naruto tried to stop me, but I wouldn't listen. I'm sorry. Sasuke thought about it for a moment, swallowing before rolling his eyes. It's fine. Naruto sat there in silence and boredom, his neck craned back, his eyes facing the ceiling. So, your brother killed everyone? Naruto, Sakura reprimanded him. Sasuke scoffed, finding it slightly humorous. Yes, he did. He was so strong, the strongest, I thought. And then he used that power to kill the weak, sparing me because he said I was too weak to even be worth the effort. That's why I don't like bullies. I hate people who flaunt their power over the weak. Cool, Naruto said. He sat his head forward. I've felt like that too, but for different reasons, I guess, and definitely with different outcomes. I generally get tenderized. Sasuke looked over. You just need to train a bit. Naruto shrugged. Not many people to train with, sadly. Most kids avoid me, and most adults ignore me. Nobody to train with. Sasuke thought for a moment. Fix those hands up and maybe I'll teach you. Won't be easy, but if you don't wuss out, I think you'll be stronger for it. Naruto laughed. You have a deal. Sakura watched this unfold. Considering that they would all be in detention for a week, they would have nothing to do but talk. Maybe it was shaky, but a start was a start, and she could see this budding into a wonderful friendship. And that should be it for now. Honestly, I was planning to make this the final chapter in the duology, but to be frank, if this video receives enough positive feedback, maybe I'll extend it out. After all, Naruto's world is a world of pain and suffering, and maybe, just maybe, it needs someone like Sakura to start putting all the broken pieces back together again. But anyway, let me know what you thought in the comments, and let me know if you'd like to see more laid-back dialogue and introspection-heavy videos like this in the future. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell to receive notifications when more content like this drops. Until then, peace.